Hello everybody, my name is Dave Jackson, he, him, and this is Tales from the Backlog, where each week I'm joined by a guest to deep dive a game from our backlogs. Today's game is Silent Hill 3, but before that, a few quick things. If this is your first time here, first of all, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you checking out a new show. Here is how the spoiler policy works today, and it's kind of an interesting one. This is a direct sequel to a previous game in the Silent Hill series. We will need to talk about some specifics from Silent Hill 1. We'll spoil some stuff there. Otherwise, spoiler policy as normal. We won't spoil the story of Silent Hill 3 for quite a while, and we'll warn you when those spoilers are coming. And if you like the show, please consider supporting on Patreon if you can. Otherwise, telling a friend, leaving a review, stuff like that. Very helpful, and I appreciate it very much. But I am not here alone to talk about Silent Hill 3. My guest today is Kaye Ross, her returning to the show. She is a co-founder and host of the many shows on the Duckfeed podcast network, such as Watch Out for Fireballs, Bonfireside Chat, and more. And she's the world's premier expert on identifying whether something is bread or not. Kaye, welcome back.
I have an 85% success rate at identifying bread. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much for having me back on,
Of course.
especially to talk about this game, which, depending on the day you ask me, it might be my favorite in the series, actually.
Ooh, hell yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I told you before we started recording, but I had this on my schedule basically from the beginning of the year, and I knew who I was going to ask first to come on the show, so I appreciate you coming back.
Yeah, been looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Previously with Kaye, we did one episode in the past. We did Iron Lung. That was episode 91. That was also with Gary from the Duckfeed Network. So you can go check that out. We have a much different, more story-heavy conversation on today's episode. But I think that Iron Lung discussion was a lot of fun, and that's a fun game. So go check that out if you're interested. Today's game, like I said, is Silent Hill 3. It is a psychological horror game developed by Team Silent, published by Konami for the PS2 in 2003. It was also included in the Silent Hill HD collection that released in 2012 on contemporary consoles there. The director of the game is Kazuhide Nakazawa, and the producer, Akira Yamaoka, a name we're going to hear later on as we go through the sections in the outline. But if people don't know what Silent Hill 3 is, we have some elevator pitches. I take the easy one first. I say it's Return to Silent Hill in more ways than one. Eyeball emoji, eyeball emoji. Kaye, what would you say?
This is a sequel to Silent Hill 1 that continues and expands the divisive cult storyline, and is also a weirdly rich feminist text for video games even now, but is wild for 2003.
Yeah, we'll definitely dig into a lot of that stuff as we go on, for sure. Very cool to see, even the first time that I saw we had a female protagonist in Silent Hill 3, way back when I first saw what the game was. So, yeah. Cool stuff there. I played the PS2 version, not the HD collection version. It took me, it took me 7-ish hours to beat. Kaye, I assume you've played this multiple times. Have you played the HD collection version, played the PS2 version?
Most of the PS2 version. I have attempted the HD collection, like right after I got it. I was like, all right, been a while since I played these games. Might as well, give this a shot. I have this new collection. Boy, is that bad. And it's not like, oh, the voice acting, like that's, matter of taste, but like just functionally, at least the PS3 version just chugs along. It's basically a slideshow. Ooh. I go for the PS2 version, which I played back in the day, and then for every one of the I don't even know how many times I've replayed it since.
Right. Yeah, that's the advice that I generally got. I actually played Silent Hill 2 on the HD collection version because the only thing available to me when I played that game. But for this one, I emulated the PS2 version. Okay, so we got into a little bit, but histories with Silent Hill and Silent Hill 3 in particular. You have a much longer history with the series and with this game than I do, and the guest always goes first anyway. So tell everybody about how you first got into this series and specifically Silent Hill 3.
I learned about Silent Hill, the series, from the back of the Metal Gear Solid manual.
Hell yeah.
Uh, they were advertising Silent Hill. Was another Konami game. The ad, like the graphic design on that, is really hilarious.
Mhm.
It's like a very poorly photoshopped, like welcome to, sign, an
Mhm.
entrance of a town kind of deal. It says "Welcome to Hell," and I was like, okay, yeah. And I had played like Resident Evil
Yeah.
2 at the time. And I was like, okay, cool. I like scary games. I want to play more of this. I rented this when I was spending the night over at a friend's house, just
Mhm.
like looking for games to rent. The problem is, like it was like I was like 12 or something like that,
Mm.
uh, probably too young. And that opening of Silent Hill 1, when you're going down the alley and then those
Yeah.
kids see the crucified body and the kids come up and they start stabbing you. It was too
Mhm.
much. It was a whole thing. Had to make my friend's mom take it back so we could get something.
That part scared me, and I played that game last year for the first time.
And then I picked up Silent Hill 2. I got that for Christmas the year it came out. And then was just a devotee of the series ever since. Like I didn't get Silent Hill 3 like right when it came out. I think I got a used copy a couple months after, just
Mhm.
because young. I was like in high school. But just devoured it. Really, really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Um, well, like I said, I played Silent Hill 1 for the first time last year. That was episode 138 of this podcast, talking about that game. But my first was Silent Hill 2, because that was the one that I heard the most about. It may have even been the Watch Out for Fireballs episode that I found as I was listening back to stuff that you all had done. That was episode 10 of this podcast. So
Wow.
that is any podcast that's been going for a while may tell people to like shy away from our first few episodes. It might not sound the same, at least.
Yeah.
I think that conversation is still pretty good.
Mhm.
I haven't listened to it, but it's good in my memory. But it was a long time ago now. So I'm just kind of like slowly making my way through the Silent Hill series, as I'm kind of playing catch up on a lot of these things. I didn't have a PlayStation console for the longest time.
Yeah.
And I didn't get into horror games until a couple years ago. So Silent Hill 3 was the obvious next one. And it's also kind of like the last one that Silent Hill fans wholeheartedly recommend. I don't know how you feel about like where does the recommendation stop for Silent Hill games, but Silent Hill 3 is one of the ones that people are like, yeah, definitely play that one.
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree with the conventional wisdom on that.
Hmm.
I am a sicko defender of Silent Hill 4, but even
Okay.
then I recognize there are very serious just structural problems with it.
Hmm.
Just the fact that the second half of it is just going through all of the levels from the first half again
Mm.
with barely any changes, but also now it is a an escort mission.
Oh,
Yeah.
why?
And then
What?
yeah, yeah. It's rough.
Okay.
For as many cool ideas that are in it. It's you know, tough to recommend. Then you get
Gotcha.
into like the American ones, or the ones that were produced outside. Those are, I mean, I've played them. They're not like the worst things I've ever played. They
Hmm.
just do not have the same kind of like atmosphere and just kind of like sense of taste to them, I
Yeah.
guess. Like I think probably the best of those is like Shattered Memories, the one for the Wii,
Hmm.
mainly for novelty's sake. But even that's a retelling of Silent Hill 1 in its own way. Um, yeah, I think you run into something that's a problem with any series, which is after long enough, when other teams come in, it starts being made by people who are fans of the original.
Right.
And it starts to get like rigid and codified in a really unappealing way.
I
3
see.
though is, enough of the original team is present, and just feels like of a piece with the rest of them.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I think I am gonna end up playing Silent Hill 4 sometime,
Yeah.
because I liked 3 a lot, and I want to keep going, at least see where I personally drop off. We'll
Yeah.
say. Three was really good. I was interested, like in the first Silent Hill game. I didn't love the cult storyline, but it was interesting enough. And then that, like, what I learned about it, the end of Silent Hill 1, Harry takes home a baby. And then I was like, when I learned Silent Hill 3 is you playing as that baby, I was like, that's cool. That's a cool idea for a sequel. I got to play that. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the story of, the baby and stuff like that. The interesting thing about Silent Hill 3 to me, and something that took a minute for me to wrap my head around, was it's the one after 2 in the series, but it is not the sequel to 2, and it is not, Silent Hill isn't the same as it is in 2. Silent Hill 2, the more I play, seems like a weird outlier, especially with the original creatives making the game. So like, it took me a minute to be like, oh, so what I loved about 2 is not in 3 for the most part. The sound design, the art, that stuff, that's here too, of course. But, what Silent Hill, the town, is and what it represents is not the same really in here. And it took me a minute to kind of get over a little bit of disappointment with that. Once I got over that, really enjoyed this game. Really glad that I played it. The story is less, I would say it affected me less than Silent Hill 2. Emotionally, I did enjoy a lot of stuff along the way. And when we get to the spoiler section, we'll have some really cool stuff to talk about. But yeah, once it was like that little adjustment period, once I got past that, I was like, this is a really fucking cool game. I'm glad that I decided to play it.
Yeah. It definitely has a tough act to follow, right?
Yeah.
Silent Hill 2 is considered to be one of the most important games to be released. Sometimes people say the best. It definitely, I think, stands out because it feels really, really adult, in that it is about extremely mature fears.
Yes.
Related to mortality, terminal illness, infidelity, any number of those like things that are just like really uncommon in games. It felt, cinematic, like real grown up media, like movies are, right?
Yeah.
Silent Hill 3, it is, you have to take the lore pill with it to a degree, because Silent Hill 2, it's an anthology entry. It has nothing about the continuity, of like why this town is the way that it is. But also it is like a much more like specific set of fears that it is like hinging upon. Silent Hill 1, it's, a lot of it is this twisted version of like what a little kid fears. And then Silent Hill 3 is like, what specifically is a young woman afraid of?
Yeah.
Right. And tied in with this overall story about this church, which is basically a big fucked up family that seeks to control and abuse her, in this way. So like, it's not that it is less like thematically, rich than Silent Hill 2 is. It's just that it is, like I'd say, more specific or less universal, I suppose. I also think that this is just beautiful. I think that it is wild that this was made on the PS2 and like not even that late in its life cycle.
Yeah.
The things that it does with shadow and with texture and making everything feel alive,
Yeah.
including the walls,
Yes.
is remarkable, and I think a really cool and interesting visual evolution from just the rust and the dinginess that you got in the previous ones.
Yeah, and if you were maybe starting to get used to the rust and the general decay and stuff like that, Silent Hill 3 has some surprises for you, for sure. So let's take our first music break of the episode. We'll put a pin in several of those points. We'll come back. We'll kind of set up what this story is about. Silent Hill 3's primary writing credit is Hiroyuki Owaku, and as we said before, it's a direct sequel to Silent Hill 1. It takes place 17 years after the events of that first game. We maybe could have hit on this before the break, but hey, we didn't. So, Kaye, Do you think it's necessary for people to have played Silent Hill 1 to like get it at the beginning before the game starts explaining?
You're not going to be completely lost. It might also even like enhance some of it because like you have to remember at the time this came out, people were not really aware of the twist that
Oh, okay.
that Heather is Cheryl is Alessa.
Right.
People weren't aware of that. So like if somebody had played Silent Hill 2 and didn't play Silent Hill 1 and came into this, they would not be lost. And like the big revelation that happened that this is like a legacy sequel kind of thing, would have hit them, probably about the same. You would be learning about a lot of this stuff at the same time
Yeah.
as Heather. So it's not absolutely necessary. I of course would recommend it because it's going to, enrich everything. There are like a lot of echoes, even in like boss design or encounter design that I think are really cool. But if you're wanting to make a beeline for this, there's nothing stopping you, I'd say.
Yeah, I would agree. It's interesting you say that people didn't know that this was going to be like the sequel back then. I thought, well, I knew, obviously. I have the benefit of coming to this game 20 plus years later. That was a big reason I wanted to play. So it's interesting that was a surprise back in the day.
Mhm.
But yeah, so if you haven't played Silent Hill 1, we generally agree you'll be fine. The game does catch you up. They try. There's a lot of information to catch up, but the general concepts I think you'll get. So in Silent Hill 3, you play as Heather Morris, who's voiced by Heather Morris, who was, like we said, at the end of Silent Hill 1, the protagonist Harry took a baby home. Maybe in the spoilers section, we'll talk about the circumstances that led to him taking a baby home. But that baby is Heather. She's a teenager now. Interesting beginning to the game. You wake up in the haunted otherworld Silent Hill amusement park. You get chased by monsters. There's dead bodies in pink bunny outfits around the place. You get chased around through like up onto a roller coaster track, and there is a set piece where you get run over by the roller coaster. I did not get run over by the roller coaster. Did you know that if you suck ass at tank controls and you fall off the roller coaster tracks, that's how this set piece ends?
Yeah, you can also just fall into a pit in the first screen that
Oh,
you're on
really?
if you just like
Okay.
run forward. At least on normal difficulty, Heather will not go off of a ledge because
Right.
who expects platforming in a Silent Hill game or in a survival horror game? It's not really platforming, pitfall deaths, right?
Yeah.
But like if you just keep pressing forward after she hesitates, you can just fall and then she wakes up and just what a strange lobby that was.
Interesting. Okay, so there are people who lost before I did and didn't see that full sequence. So when Heather wakes up, she's in a diner. She's asleep, and she starts to go home. And she's approached by a detective-looking guy named Douglas, who says he's been looking for her. And because Heather was taught about stranger danger, she basically tells him to fuck off. She keeps going home. She's again approached a little bit later by a woman named Claudia, who says Heather is needed to bring about paradise on Earth. And we're all, Heather included, we're all like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the beginning of the journey that Heather goes on. Basically, like there's a big portion of the game that's just Heather trying to get home. And then after that, things get wild in Silent Hill fashion. We'll kind of stop with like specific plot details for now. But we'll say the plot generally revolves around Heather learning about her past, as some of it is, or most of it, has been hidden from her as she's grown up, because she is an important person in the town of Silent Hill. And she doesn't know why. Why is everyone looking for me? What's my significance? She tries to figure that stuff out. You try to escape the horrors, and then you try to, of course, find a way out of the horrors themselves. So, we mentioned before the storytelling is done more in the way that Silent Hill 1 did it rather than the way Silent Hill 2 did it. I think that we're both cool with this. We both enjoy what the game is doing from a storytelling perspective. But what do you think that this game does particularly well from that story perspective?
I think that it is a lot better, I don't know, directed. I suppose. Like, something that is a little bit annoying about Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 2 is that the only reason you're going from set piece to set piece is you just heard a rumor or saw a shadow that you're, kind of going, just like, oh, I guess I have to head in that direction.
Hmm.
And just that's the door that unlocks and is not just mysteriously broken. So I guess I go in, and that's going to be the level. At
Yeah.
least this is still um c- completely centered around a mystery that is not just where is somebody and then dragging you by a rope through the entire thing, right? And it's still doing all of the great tricks, that were established in Silent Hill 1 and then done extremely well in Silent Hill 2, telling things through a lot of symbolism,
Hmm.
a malleable reality that is responsive to what the character, the player is going through,
Hmm.
and just a ton of detail in the world that shows you, things that are, not stated directly.
Yeah. You can definitely pull a lot of stuff from, for example, what the enemies look like. You can pull a lot of stuff from, like we talked about earlier. Why do the walls look like that? There is a significance to why the walls are seemingly made of flesh in this place. Stuff like that. You can pull a lot of meaning from it. There are there's some like religious symbolism, just like Silent Hill 1 had proper nouns that you might recognize if you're very familiar with ancient religion, um, stuff like that. I personally, I take the most from like the environmental design. Like again, why are the walls like that? What are these tendrils that are moving across the floor? Like stuff like that. What is that stuff works for you? Does anything stick out as like your favorite part of that kind of environmental enemy design?
Oh, just the way that things deteriorate as you
Yeah.
go, right? It is, again, not just here is a dilapidated space, and then here is a space that is suddenly more dilapidated,
Hmm.
with, implausible grading and, stuff happening with it. The fact that it starts bad and then just keeps getting worse every time you go back, um, I think is pretty important.
Yeah. It's a good thing to point out because the thing that I think a lot of people know about Silent Hill is that other world, the aesthetic of it, the rust, the broken stuff, the monsters, things like that. And Silent Hill 3, like the first portion of the game is like the stuff that you're familiar with, and then it just keeps getting worse and weirder and grosser as you play. The last like hour or two of the game, I was like pretty uncomfortable playing it, which is great. It's something that Silent Hill is trying to do to you. But they really fucking knocked it out of the park with this stuff. Whereas Silent Hill 2, I remember being uncomfortable, but it was because of story stuff, not
Yeah.
necessarily environmental stuff.
Yeah, just this is just such an aesthetic win if you're
Yeah.
talking about it from a like pure does this use the medium as well as it can
Yeah.
kind of point of view.
Right. The primary art credit is Masahiro Ito, and one of the best things about like horror games, I guess, and one of the things that uh, like if done well, can really enhance that feeling of dread or terror or something like that, is that I have to be the one to open that door and see what's behind it. And in Silent Hill 3, there were a lot of rooms where I stood outside and I was like, I don't want to open this door. There's gonna be something real bad. I'm gonna have to run. It's just gonna be brutal in there. And that was true. That was the case for a lot of, especially like the last quarter of the game, we'll say.
That sense of compounding dread is so valuable. I have like just like treasured memories of like just, every door getting harder and harder to go through. And it would be to the point where like, okay, that room was too fucked up. I need to get up and leave the room that I am in playing in and just like spend time elsewhere. Like not stop playing, but just I need to not be here right now in order to like
Hmm.
recharge my battery or my will to go forward.
Gotcha. I had to
Yeah.
stop playing. Like this is a general thing with horror games for me. I like horror games now, but I'm not going to sit and play them for 4 straight hours.
Hmm.
I played Silent Hill 3 in like 30-minute bursts,
Yeah.
and those bursts became harder and harder to get through. There was more of a sigh of relief when I got to a new save symbol, especially as this game went on. Let's talk a little bit more about how this game creates horror then, while we're on the subject. So environmental design, some of the trademark stuff, the fog is back. You mentioned the way the game looks pretty damn good for a PS2 game. The fog effect is a lot better than it was in Silent Hill 2.
Have you seen the PS footage of the PS2 version? Because if you were playing it on the 360 version, the fog being bad is like the main complaint about the 360 one.
So I have not seen the HD version of... Okay, I have not seen the PS2 version of Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
I have seen the PS2 version of Silent Hill 3. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just it feels less like, I guess I'm pulling most of my comparison from Silent Hill 1, which is not a great comparison. It's a lot older, but it feels less like a wall of white and more like actual fog that's just thick as fuck.
Yes. There's like a volume to it. Yeah.
Interesting. You don't spend a lot of time like on the streets of Silent Hill in Silent Hill 3. It's something I kind of miss actually, is like exploring the town and going in the shops and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was a big mark against it, was that it takes a while for you to get to Silent Hill.
Yeah.
And then once you're there, it's pretty much just like one street and then a reprise of Brookside Hospital.
Yeah.
Brookhaven. Fuck, I should know that. And you know, I think that there were a few people who kind of lodged like Resident Evil 3 complaints at this, that it was reusing shit, because gamers as gamers going back decades. Yeah.
No, you got to make a brand new town every time you make a new game set in the same town. Yeah, that makes total sense. Interesting you mentioned the hospital. I remember there was a part when Douglas and Heather are together, and Douglas just kind of mentions like, hey, the town is real weird. And Heather's like, yeah, man, there's something weird going on in this town. And he's like, all right, well, I think you should go check out the hospital. And I'm going to go do this other thing. And I was like, I don't want you go to the hospital. I don't want to go to the hospital. You want to talk about that dread? Like, I've played Silent Hill games. Nothing good's happening in that hospital.
Never. Every single one. It's the worst place.
Yeah. In any horror game, they all have hospitals. This one doesn't have a lab, I don't think. No lab.
No
lab. Yeah, they all have hospitals, and they're all bad news. The camera is one of my really only like real complaints about the game. So this game has like some of those fixed camera angles that survival horror games from this era are known for. And I love those. I love going into especially like a small room, and they've just framed up this shot of like how they want to show you this room. Love that. Silent Hill's always been 3D though. And so you have these swings of the camera depending on where you're going and what they want you to see. And I feel like Silent Hill 3 goes into the Crash Bandicoot angle a little too often for my taste.
So this is where we get into one of the problems with my analysis, because I played this so young, you know, like I just kind of tanked that back then. And every time since has been, well, I'm already used to this.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to, hard for me to like hit that with fresh eyes, I suppose. It never felt too terribly overbearing to me. You know, it gets in the way that a bunch of, you know, it can happen in a bunch of silent or survival horror games, but didn't stick out too much.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. We've all got games like that. It's just that's one of the ways that they want to make you dread what's up ahead, is they're not going to show you what's up ahead. You can only hear it because you have that radio static going on. And so you know something bad is ahead of you in this hallway, but the camera's not going to show it. The thing that like makes this not the worst thing, it doesn't kill the experience, is whatever's up ahead, you can probably run around it as soon as you see that it's there, and you can just keep going along your way. But I started to get to that point where it's like, I'm in a hallway, I'm walking down the hallway, and the hallway, you know, there's always 6 doors I want to check in the hallway, and oh no, the camera's swung around. It's fate. I'm doing the Crash Bandicoot thing. Here we go. You know.
And then you have to wait. You have to press the shoulder button and wait for it to go, it's like scooch past you. There.
Oh, right. Okay. So I did not do that. I didn't know you could do that. This is chalk this up another one of those times when Dave should have read the manual for a PS2 game ahead of time. So
yeah, you always have the ability to swing the camera behind you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that takes the sting out of some of that critique then, doesn't it? If you can
A little
always
bit.
just swing the camera around. But
It's the game's fault for discoverability, right?
yeah. I gotta just make a note. Anytime I'm doing anything before the PS3, I gotta read the manual before I play it.
Yeah. They're not going to hammer it in. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So we kind of touched on sound design with the radio that's going on whenever enemies are nearby. It's letting you know something bad is nearby. The enemies are always bad. Every time I see an enemy, it's what the fuck is that? Other than
Mhm.
dogs, there's almost nothing that I can easily map onto like another creature that exists in real life.
Just always vaguely humanoid and always combined with some kind of machinery.
Yeah, and often somewhat phallic in a lot of cases in
It's
Silent Hill.
all over the place. I mean,
Yeah.
especially in this one. Yeah.
Yep. So the sound, music and sound, Akira Yamaoka headed that up, per usual with the series. Let's talk about that horror sound design, then we'll talk about the music.
Yeah.
So we talked a bit about the radio, but so Silent Hill has this weird thing, right? Akira Yamaoka really seems to love this like melancholy alt rock stuff, and then just taking everything that could ever make you uncomfortable and putting 6 of those things together to form a soundscape to just really fuck you up as you're going through some of these places. So you have the radio that's got static going on whenever there are enemies nearby, but also saws, industrial banging. This game has throat singing in a couple of songs, which I thought was a great addition to
Mhm.
this soundscape. You've got weird chords, you like dissonance, you've got whispering, you've got crying, all kinds of stuff going on in the soundscape. It's all designed to just make you uncomfortable, and I can't think of any series that does this better than Silent Hill.
It is constantly layering things on.
Hmm.
Actual melodic music is pretty much confined just to scenes,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And all of that's great. I love like that Akira Yamaoka guitar tone
Hmm.
to it. Like anytime he is playing in that, like just here is a really a guitar with some like reverb and fuzz on it over like a trip hop beat. I'm
Hmm.
like, oh yeah, that's vitamins to me. Give me as much of it as I can get.
Yeah, I like
Um,
it.
it makes it weird to listen to a soundtrack because so much of the sound design and what is technically music in this is real in just industrial like texture, kind
Hmm.
of giving you a sense of what's going on around you. Just a phrase that sticks out, I think I might have seen it like in somebody's like forum signature on something awful, because, and I associate it because they had a Silent Hill avatar, but it's like
Hmm.
the pervasive sound of distant weeping machinery,
Uh-huh.
and that nails it for a lot of what it is. But I think that a huge deal is to build up the texture and then just to always ride it consistently to wear you down.
Yep. And a lot of times it's pretty jarring when it cuts in. Like maybe you'll get out of a story scene and walk through a door, and suddenly there is industrial pounding happening in the background
Yeah.
right as soon as you go through the door. And it gets like that fight or flight. Even though there might not be something right in front of you, it's like, oh shit, this is bad. I'm looking around.
Hmm.
It gets that panic moment. And like I really appreciate this approach to make me feel uncomfortable rather than have things jump out. Like this game has like 2 jump scares. There's one like really strong one and it's really goofy too, but it scared the shit out of me when it happened. But
Yeah.
I love Silent Hill's approach of like not trying to jump scare me, just make me just generally uncomfortable, ranging up to extremely uncomfortable. And then like
Yeah.
when you have a story scene, you have that more melodic music come in. Let's exhale, let's watch the story scene, and then we're back into the horrors after that.
Yeah. Talking about like, God, I can't not use this kind of language, but like the different constituent colors of horror, right?
Hmm.
Because it's a pretty big umbrella, but like the way that Silent Hill specifically specializes in dread and disgust
Yeah.
compared to so many of its contemporaries, I think is a huge thing that makes it special.
Disgust is a good word for how I felt. I had a little like pit in my stomach a couple times, more related to general visuals and soundscape. And then there's some stuff later in the story that's like legitimately like disturbing to watch, which we'll talk about in the spoiler section for sure. So otherwise good stuff. You enjoy the kind of alt rock side of the soundtrack, the Silent Hill soundtracks as well then?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
The vocalist that they use most often, it's a voice actress named Mary Elizabeth McGlynn. Has been in a bunch of stuff, primarily like an anime dub voice actress for a long time. I adore her vocals, especially in the theme song on this, the You're Not Here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have her doing narration on some of them, like just that partnership between Yamaoka and McGlynn, like man, I don't know. I don't know. It's one of my favorite like team ups, I guess, that has happened over the course of, again, decades at this point.
Nice. I didn't know that it was such a long continuing partnership. That's cool. I like the music a lot too. There's one weird thing. It's not a huge spoiler. We've already said this game's connected to Silent Hill 1. The end of this game contains what I think is a pretty bizarre remix on the Silent Hill 1 theme song. Like it's weird. Like I kind of like it, but listening to it, I was like, what was the idea behind this? Why did they go with this one?
You're talking about Hometown,
I can't remember the name of it, but
yeah, but
it brings back like the tremolo from the first game, and then has like
the mandolin.
Yeah. It's not a ballad.
Like a crooner kind of thing almost. Yeah.
It's weird.
That guy does a vocal on a song on the Silent Hill 4 soundtrack that otherwise would be really good, but his voice just takes me out of it.
It's strange. I'll make sure to put it probably at the end of the episode. I think that's where it fits. But yeah, weird song. But there's a lot of weird stuff in the soundtrack here.
Yeah.
So looping back to like the story stuff, there's a couple other things I wanted to mention about the story and kind of give people some things to look forward to in the spoiler section if they're going to stick around for that with us. First of all, Heather as a protagonist, pretty good. I like her as a main character, especially in the Silent Hill protagonists in 1 and 2, at least, are weird. Like they react to things in weird ways. I think that Harry is probably more like Heather than James, which makes sense, of course. But Heather seems to have like the proper reaction to the weird shit happening more often than other of the protagonists do. And I like the kind of development that she goes through as she kind of learns more about herself and learns what, she thinks is the best course of action for her to go through. I really like that.
Heather kicks so much ass. She is just a real cool teen.
Yeah.
And something like some of the ways they spool that out, like you will just like examine a trash can with an ashtray on top of it in the mall, and she'll say like, "Oh, I used to smoke, but I'm trying to quit," or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like she'll allude to like her past like shoplifting. Right. And given how she grew up basically on the run, like a lot of the way that she kind of turned out and needed to kind of take charge for herself actually ends up making a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But just in general, yeah, like that dreamy distance that a lot of the Silent Hill characters have is a noteworthy effect that is like inseparable from it. But having your protagonist be the person who is kind of like more close and reacting like you would, and other people being the ones that act bizarrely, I think is a more conventional but still very effective dynamic, and it makes Heather super relatable.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. When, like we said at the beginning, when the strange guy comes up to her and is like, "Hey, I've been looking for you. Come with me. I'm a private detective," or whatever. She's like, "No, I'm not going with you."
Yeah.
Yeah. And exactly. Why would I go with you?
Also, her dad, raised her saying, "Hey, if anybody strange comes looking for you, you need to run as quickly as you can, not just for stranger danger reasons, but because of, that cult."
Exactly. Yeah. And that's another thing I liked about this story in this game is how it ties into Silent Hill 1. Like I said, I wasn't like in love with the story in Silent Hill 1, but I thought it was interesting. And then that little thing at the end seeing how it continues into this game with the baby, really cool. And then the way that they kind of like slowly tie things back into Silent Hill 1, whether it's with the cult or whether it's with the relationship between Heather and Harry, I thought was good. Like really, really well done stuff, especially the more you learn about how Heather was raised, how she feels about her dad, and then how that might change throughout the game.
Yeah. A scene at around the midway point of the game, I think,
Yeah.
is one of the most effective in the entire series, in terms of actual character-based storytelling, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know. I just like the having Heather being being a teenage girl here. You get the fraught relationship that she had with her dad, but also the things that are going on. You end up, we talk about, okay, the fear is very specific to a young woman. There's an
Hmm.
awful lot in the story without going into spoilers for specifically why the people are after her and stuff. But like, there's a lot in the story that has to do with like bodily autonomy and
Yeah.
integrity,
Hmm.
like the church as family, as a structure of abuse that can be like reinforced from within by
Hmm.
somebody, by a peer, by another young woman who ends up internalizing the wrong messages from like the suffering that she's witnessed. Like
Right.
there is just a lot being said, not with a little, because so much of it is intentional. Like a note about Heather's character design. She's wearing a skirt in this. Her original character design had jeans, but
Hmm.
the female employees at the studio said no, she needs to be in a skirt because we need her to feel vulnerable in this.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's kind of some of the space that it's playing in, and it makes it real discomforting when you start kind of learning the specifics of what's going on. And a lot of it is stuff that was present in Silent Hill 1, but
Hmm.
more abstracted specifically because of how young Alessa was. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good point you bring up that it's not that it's like hidden from you or like not there for you to see. But a lot of like I think the most affecting stuff or like the dots that you would connect to get you to that point where you really like emotionally resonate with it or at least empathize with Heather. That stuff is not directly on the screen being shouted at you. You do have
Mm,
to like think about it a little bit, kind of like that example with the skirt, like you mentioned,
yeah.
or kind of piecing together this character saw this and then later did this. Why? Connecting those things.
Yeah.
It's really well done. And I think most all of the Silent Hill games that I've played have done that very well.
Yeah. It's one of their tricks.
Yeah. We have some things to tide people over until the spoiler section as far as story goes. But I think it's time to listen to a bit more music, and we'll come back. Time to talk about what it's like to play Silent Hill 3. So, Silent Hill 3, third person survival horror, per usual with the series. Up until this point, I don't know where the fuck it goes later on, but one of the cool things, we'll just say this if anyone's here and they want to think about playing a Silent Hill 3, one of the cool things that this game does, just like Silent Hill 2 did, I forget about 1, but you can set game difficulty and puzzle difficulty independent of one another, which is awesome. For example, if you suck at survival horror games, myself included, you can put it on easy game difficulty and keep the puzzles at normal. If you're a real sicko, you can put the puzzles at hard mode, and they are insane. I read them. I did not do that. I played this on normal difficulty for both. Kay, have you done hard puzzle mode specifically before?
Oh yeah, yeah. I did it. I did it back in the day. It is nonsense, and
Yes.
a lot of them require so like what is something above an intuitive leap? Like it actually comes down to like I need to actually like understand what is being communicated in this passage by what is
Right.
specifically not being said. it gets down to like poetry interpretation almost.
Yeah.
Another thing is that a lot of this, not every puzzle, some of them are just lock and key, kind of things, but like a few of them end up requiring external knowledge,
On hard
you
mode
know? Yeah.
specifically. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the one with the Shakespeare
Yeah.
puzzles where I read the hard mode puzzle and I was like, I feel like I have an average amount of familiarity with Shakespeare. I don't know what the fuck this is asking for.
It's pulling from like not the Shakespeare plays that you read in high school, right? I don't know that a lot of like high schoolers who went to the same kind of like middling school that I had were like reading Richard III, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. You can almost imagine, like, I encourage anyone, whether you've done this, or whether you are going to play Silent Hill 3, but not on hard mode, or if you're not going to play this at all, just go on the wiki, read the hard mode puzzle riddles, and just imagine the writers cackling like mad scientists when they're writing these. Like, it's, there's like, I feel like there's less of like the riddle style puzzles in this than in Silent Hill 2, especially. But they are here. And I had to get my notebook out and write some notes down in order to solve the normal mode ones. So yeah, we do have those. And then we have like you said, like the lock and key style. They're adventure game puzzles, basically.
Yeah.
Something I've kind of noticed as I played a couple old point and clicks and then started to get into this like relatively early area of survival horror is like the adventure games kind of died out for a while, but they lived on throughout Resident Evil and Silent Hill games.
Yeah.
And I'm dog shit at adventure game style logic. So I had to use a guide for a lot of things. Less so in this game because I missed something. That was a big problem for me in Silent Hill 2. I would just like miss a key or something. Not often in this game, but a lot of times, like the leap I have these two items and I have, maybe two things impeding my progress in different directions. I don't know what this game wants from me. Luckily, you can't irreparably mess things up by like combining two items that can't be combined or using an item somewhere that you're not supposed to use it. So you can't soft lock yourself or something like that. But this is probably another one of those where you're like, I've played the game 100 times. I can't empathize, but I really struggle with this logic.
Especially when you are dealing with there's like one in particular where it's like there's a key that I need that is out of reach because it's underneath like a pallet.
Yeah.
And it's like I have any number of things that could reach back there, right?
Yeah.
And then like what am I even supposed to look at to pick up to try and do that?
Right.
Because it's really arbitrary what can be picked up and what is environmental just sharpening design kind of things.
Right. You've got a rack full of coat hangers, but there's one coat hanger on one rack that you can pick up to do one thing that's not grabbing that key. It's for something else.
It's my special key grab and hanger.
Exactly. Yeah. I like the example of the palette. You mentioned the kind of characterization of Heather as a teenager. Like there's like stuff stacked on the palette and she's like, I don't want to move that stuff. Like I could, but I don't want to move it. So
girl, it's life or death.
Yeah. I guess I'm not getting that key. I guess I'm going to die.
Yeah. Something related to that I want to bring up because it's not, I don't know if it's like super apparent to everybody, but a few of the puzzles are like high school chemistry and biology.
Yes.
There's one that requires you to know how to make a flame burn higher, and you have you grabbed a frozen like a refrigerated liver from a freezer somewhere, right? Like that hinges on like a very particular piece of trivia that you would have learned in a biology class, right? And think about Heather being a 17-year-old, right? And the idea of Silent Hill is this place that like hits you with nothing you're not equipped to handle, but like everything you see you brought in with you. The idea that it is putting a puzzle in front of her that might literally be a quiz at a couple of points is cute at the very least.
Yeah, I remember that puzzle with the liver, and at least thinking to myself, I picked up a liver and I know the thing that I need to do to solve the puzzle. What do I know about livers that could be useful here? And is said in the most non-serial killer way possible. There's that. There's one was like combining some chemicals to make a gas. Like you said, chemistry class.
I have a cute story about that.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, there was a girl who had a crush on me, and we ended up going out. But like her way of like starting to talk to me was like I just get a call out of the blue, and one of our mutual friends had said, "Oh, Kay plays, that knows these Silent Hill games, they'll be able to, she'll be able to tell you what, what, like how to get through this puzzle." And
Uh-huh.
it was that puzzle that she was calling to ask me about as a pretext to like start talking. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, puzzles. And then oh yeah, the other part of the game, combat, movement, stuff like that. The game has tank controls, although you can change it. There's an option for it. I didn't do it. Um, Tank controls work generally much better for me in Silent Hill because they're 3D and the camera moves around, as opposed to like the Resident Evil like total fixed camera stuff. I'm still
Yeah.
dog shit with them. But by like hour 7, I was like, I think I can like dodge out of the way of something now. But tank controls, you can change them. Um, I want to get your thought on something because it's something I've had some conversations about. There's a kind of opinion out there that tank controls were a let's say a conscious choice to limit your ability to move as a player as a way to make you feel disempowered in these old survival horror games. What do you think about that? Because these games are about disempowerment to a certain extent, right?
Yeah, they are about disempowerment. I think that that is a little bit of Vaseline that gets put over the lens of critically talking about the mechanical failings of these games.
Mm,
If you look at where the tank control cameras at least originate in the genre, it was Alone in the Dark way back on PC in 1991.
mm,
You weren't playing that with a gamepad. You're playing that with, the arrow keys on
right.
your keyboard. You needed to be able to move around in this 3D space that was represented in all of these static 2D shots.
Hmm.
So like in order to actually like run the lines you would need to do, you would have to do that while also maintaining like up is forward no matter what as the camera angle is changing,
Yeah.
right? So it might flip from one angle to another, it before we have the ability to like give a little bit of inertia and like do the tricks that this does to get around that.
Hmm.
Like just up being forward and then you turn left and right based on that is just an easy and consistent way to reduce confusion with it.
Right.
um so though that might have been like a good knock-on effect, I don't know that they specifically said, "Hey, we want the experience of playing this to be dog shit in your hands to get something across." I think that is something that is a happy accident.
I
Um,
agree.
yeah.
Yeah. That's it's definitely where I land on it too. And I played like the Resident Evil remake from the GameCube with like the non-tank controls, and it worked just fine.
Yep.
Well, I do appreciate the tank controls in Silent Hill because the camera is swinging as you're running through specific places. But I generally agree. If it makes you feel less empowered, which they do, because I can't move my character the way that I
Hmm.
want them to move,
Yeah.
it seems to me like a happy accident rather than, something that they did on purpose.
Hmm. Same thing with like, the combat. If they could have made the combat good, I think that they would have. I think they were
Yeah.
focused on a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
And you get neat stuff as a result of that. This is a game where you want to run, less
Hmm.
so because of like maintaining, keeping your resources up, which you wanted to do, but more so just because like there's just too much, you know.
Yeah. Now, so recently I watched a video I really liked. It was by Never Knows Best, and it was one of their big history of a genre videos. It's like 3 hours long, is the history of horror games, and kind of laid out in order as survival horror became action horror around this time. They pointed out Silent Hill 3 has more enemies and more ammo and things like that than previous games. I don't remember playing Silent Hill 2 to that level of detail. Do you can you definitively say Silent Hill 3 has way more enemies than
Yeah.
Silent Hill 2? Yeah.
Yeah. Way more bigger environments that you are
Hmm.
in. Yeah, definitely. It is a little bit more populated.
Right.
Additionally, like with the weapons, you just get more weapons.
Yeah.
This is the first entry in the series where they have responsive item pickups depending on how you're doing.
Okay. I
Yeah,
wondered if it did that because I never felt strapped for ammo. I wasn't really fighting things unless they were blocking a door, but I remember playing Silent Hill 1 and just constantly being out of ammo if I had to kill anything at all.
yeah.
Whereas this one didn't feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the first one that has that. So if you're doing, very badly, you don't have any healing items, maybe the next health pickup will be a first aid kit instead of the protein shake or whatever, the health drink.
Gotcha. That
Yeah.
makes sense. I was also pretty flush on health drinks for a lot of the game.
Yeah.
Even though, so like my strategy in Silent Hill 3 is only fight something if it's blocking a door,
Yeah.
run from everything else. You might get tagged as you're running past them, but I generally didn't fight anything. I think the combat's terrible.
Mhm.
And I kind of agree with you. I don't think they made it terrible on purpose. Like, I think if they could have made it feel smoother, more responsive, etc., they probably would
Mhm.
have. Interesting saying that. Now that the Silent Hill 2 remake is out, the combat looks very fluid, very, kinetic and interesting. But I hear people complaining that there's too much and they want you to fight too much. So I'm cool
Yeah.
just running past everything in this game.
Yeah. You can also run past stuff in the Silent Hill 2 remake. I don't
That's
know.
fair. I haven't
Yeah.
played it. I'm just going
Yeah.
on what people are saying.
Mhm.
Um, One exception to my run past everything rule is those little guys that crawl on the floor and trip you.
Oh my
Um,
God. Yeah.
the worst.
I hate those things. I forget what those are called. I've got the list up here. The slurpers. Yeah,
The
with like the weird
slurpers.
like conical thing. Yeah, no, just those things suck. They move super quickly. They crawl at you like cockroaches and they knock you over for like no reason. Yeah.
Yeah, as far as gameplay stuff, the most frustrating things about Silent Hill 3 were if I was in a hallway with more than one of those things,
Mhm.
and basically every boss fight I hated. Um, just because, like, the bosses have I feel like they have a little bit more gimmick to them in Silent Hill 3. Like, you can't hit this guy from ahead. You gotta dodge an attack, run behind, shoot him in the back, like that kind of stuff. I find
Yeah.
it really hard to dodge an attack, run around, and shoot him in the back. So not a fan. Generally, most of the bosses are easy enough, and there's really not a lot of bosses in general.
Right.
I don't know how many there are. There's got to be less than 10 in the whole game.
Oh yeah. I mean, I mean, I think it might be 5
Yeah.
even, you know.
I think the final boss in this game is one of my least favorite things I've done in a game this year.
Oh, it's the pits. Like I love the visual design and stuff on it, but like
Yeah.
that is the one place where if you come in without without enough resources, you can get soft locked at that. I've done that at that point. I
Yeah,
just lost my
man.
patience. Yeah.
That sucks so bad. Silent Hill 1 gives you a thing to not soft lock you. If you get there and you run out of ammo, I don't know why they would let you do that to yourself in this game.
Just oversights.
Yeah. The cool thing, like you said, is all of the bosses are either an interesting design to look at or an interesting story character to be like, what's this thing's purpose here?
Yeah.
But as an experience of like fighting a boss fight, survival horror is just not that genre for me. Maybe it's more so the Silent Hill series, but more broadly, yeah,
It's just been something they struggled with. Every Resident Evil boss fight is, you trade blows, right?
yeah,
you know, and I give them credit on this one for trying to bring in some gimmick,
yeah.
um, you know, to make it a little bit more than that. Like in Silent Hill 2, when you're fighting Pyramid Head, the damage you do doesn't actually matter.
Mm,
It's a timer.
right, right.
Right? So relative to that, I think bringing a little bit more interest there is laudable, but it's
Mhm.
just the fundamentals aren't there, even though they try to add, like a block system in this. Right.
That's another thing. I learned after the fact. I didn't know you could block until
Yep.
after I beat the game and I started reading more stuff.
Yeah.
But you don't need to block if you're running past everything in the hallway. So,
Nope.
yeah. Let's see. Anything else about the experience of like the gameplay side of things in Silent Hill 3?
Um, Enemy variety in general, I think, is pretty good in this, in terms of, things that might play a little bit better with the space. I think they get more canny with that.
Hmm.
Things like the insane cancer enemies, the big fat guys,
Yes.
who exist primarily to block the way, but also hit like a truck. You end up with like the flying enemies, like those pendulum things,
Hmm.
which are annoying, but not as annoying as the previous flying enemies,
Hmm.
particularly
Yeah.
because they hang low enough that they're not like super evasive. But they're there to like play with the fact that you mainly encounter them in the mall, and they're like flying over a mezzanine to like come at you, right? Like
Hmm.
if everything can only come at you from the hallway in front of you or behind you, but something can come over the rail, that
Yeah.
is much more interesting. So I think they're doing cool stuff with having enemies that, align with the space a little bit better.
Yeah. And different, like, we'll say like different levels of attack. You got the guys coming at your feet. You've got the regular, I forget what they're called. Like they're the evolution of like the gray baby things, the gray child things from the first game,
Yeah, yeah, the numb body things.
the
Yeah,
numb
little
bodies. Yes.
dinosaurs, little
Right.
sperm dinosaurs. Yeah,
Sperm dinosaurs. They're coming at like the midsection, and then you have the things flying in the air. The ones in the air, not that hard to dodge, but they have a really creepy sound effect to them,
yep.
like the circular saw type sound effect. So,
Hmm.
if nothing else, you hate one of those buzzing by the side of your head.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. One last thing to mention, and I'm not going to do this, but I wonder if you have Silent Hill games are designed to be replayed to get cool stuff, and in this case, get a new ending for the game.
Yeah.
One ending available on the first game, and then two more endings, I believe, if you play New Game Plus.
Mhm.
Um, and then like, I just laughed like. When I beat the game, it was like, congratulations, you beat Silent Hill 3. You unlocked a lightsaber for
Yep.
Heather to play with. So it's like
Mhm.
this thing where it's like, number one, replay the game to maybe get another ending. Silent Hill 2 has so many endings, but also we're gonna let our hair down a little bit and we're gonna go have some fun on this replay. Have a lightsaber.
Yeah, Heather has a straight up magical girl transformation where she will turn into like Sailor Heather and
No
can
shit.
shoot lasers from her eyes.
Hell
Like,
yes. Love that.
yeah. And that's in addition to like, more standard like bonus weapon kind of things like the
Hmm.
infinite Uzi you can get. There's also like a flamethrower you can get. It's not very good, but still cool. And like those are just you're playing through a second time, grab this. Like
Yeah.
the chainsaw in Silent Hill 2.
Yeah. I,
Um,
I
you
like
know,
that.
yeah. I mean, and that is something about like, older survival horror games. This is especially true in Resident Evil, but it was true here. Like they're made to be speed run the way that
Mm.
it rates you at the
Yeah.
end, and then you
Right.
get rewards depending on how well you did it. That is something that is just like not especially played up when the genre is kind of like revisited or when you get throwbacks to it.
Right. Yeah. I just like how, Silent Hill stories, there's like some camp to it, but it's a very serious, very disturbing story most of the time. But then when you beat the game, they're like, yeah, let's have some fun now. Have a lightsaber. Go on, get out there. See if you can get the UFO ending for the game.
Yeah. It's cute. I like it.
Yeah. So let's do our kind of wrap ups in this non-spoiler section of the game, in which we recommend the game to who we think this would appeal to the most. So I think both of us are probably on the same page that if you liked Silent Hill 1 and, probably Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill 3 is good, you should play it. Is there anyone else that you would add on to that?
Oh, I mean, I would say if you are only familiar with more recent horror games, this one is one of the more approachable if you want to kind of like go back and play something of like the classic era,
Yeah.
like the the PS1 kind of PS2, where like a lot of these big franchises I think were established. Silent Hill 1 has, presentational problems and control things that, kind of get in the way. I think it's pretty much a toss up between whether 2 or 3 are going to be the one you want to go to. I think play this one if like the play being more accessible is something you're going to value.
Hmm. Yeah, I would agree. And I think that for people like me who missed these, maybe got into horror games recently and you want to go back and play like the classics, I think if you looked at a list of like, the top 10 essential survival horror games, Silent Hill 3 might not be on that list, but I would include that in my personal list of like, this is a really good game from the era. And you should definitely go check it out. If what we've talked about for the first hour here has sounded cool to you, definitely go check it out. And remember, you can put it on easy mode if, we say that the combat's bad and the boss fights suck. Put it on easy mode, get through it as quickly as you can, because I don't think that this game is missing a whole lot if you don't feel like the mechanical pressure so much. At least that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I would say do the same. Also emulate it. Like it is not accessible. Like that's not on storefronts. You can't
Right.
buy it. Just like PCSX2 or whatever it is super usable now.
Yeah.
Grab that, and put in the effort to get that set up and enjoy it that way.
Right. And I wonder, I hope, I heard they're remaking Silent Hill 1 because the Silent Hill 2 remake did so well. And then if that does well, maybe they'll remake 3 or make it available somewhere. Like that's literally the least we're asking Konami, just like fucking make the game purchasable,
Put it up on, just do it, like give the PC version to whoever put Silent Hill 4 on GOG, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So good recommendations for the both of us. It is a good game. You should play it. Now, little housekeeping before spoilers, and we always start with the work that the guest does. So as I said at the top, Kaye is one of the hosts of many shows on the Duckfeed Network. Watch Out for Fireballs, Bonfireside Chat, Abject Suffering. The list goes on and on and on and on. Kaye, tell the people about Duckfeed and maybe not go through every show that you all do because there's so many, but tell the people about the work you do.
Yeah. So we have been running, it's a podcast network, been running since 2010. Our flagship show has been since like 2011. We've been doing this for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever we're interested in something, we just spin a show up about it. But generally, it's about games, about culture, television, film, a bunch of things like that. A lot of it's on our Patreon, which like gets you just a whole bunch. So check that out if you're at all interested. Obviously support Tales from the Backlog first. dance with the one what brought you. But if you have time, a lot of time, check us out. Additionally, I stream horror games specifically on weekends. Twitch.tv/DuckFeedTV. On Friday and Saturday nights on a series that I call Hex Crank, named after an item in Resident Evil. Been doing that this is my 10th year doing the streams for that as well. Yeah. So if you like games like Silent Hill 3, come and check me out. At least give us a follow.
Yeah. The streams are fun. I pop in there when I have time and see that you're on. And the shows are fantastic. And I told you and Gary the last time you were here, but this show would not exist without Watch Out for Fireballs. Just straight up wouldn't exist. And I still continue to enjoy the shows, but also find inspiration in the two of you. So I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, and I love hearing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean it for real. Is this show and Kane and Rinse were the two when I was building out Tales from the Backlog. Those are the two shows where I was like, I want my show to be like that if I can manage it. So, and then on the Patreon, Bonfireside Chat for all the Souls fans, please go check that out. And then I really like the Real Lich Hours ideas for CRPGs. Because those are games that like you can expand out and spend a long time talking about the lore and the many playthroughs of those games. So there's just a couple for people to check out. That is probably the most generous Patreon of any Patreon I've come across. As far
We're
as
so insecure about asking for money.
$1,
Yeah.
I mean, like with my Patreon, I do what I can as one person doing this, but the Duckfeed Patreon it's more shows than any two people should probably do, but
It's kind of unfair to other Patreons, actually.
it's a lot. It's great stuff. It's not like just phoning in, let's just fill up hours of content,
Yeah.
Also, another thing, if you're here, you like horror stuff, Unfilmable, great show.
Oh God, I love doing that. Yeah, that is a monthly bonus show about horror movies.
Yeah.
Horror media. We've done some television stuff on there as well. Sometimes we stretch the definition just a little bit, but I've discovered so many amazing movies from doing that, and it is always fun to take an old favorite and put it under the microscope and see if it still works.
Yeah, your recent episode about Seven was really good. Really loved that.
Yeah. That one was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, of course. Seven's a fun movie. Not fun, but
Right. You know what I mean.
So yeah, I will put links down in the show notes for everything Duckfeed and then the Twitch channel. So you can check out those horror game streams. Good stuff that I think that everyone should check out. I did my plugs at the top. So one more final plug, please join the Discord server if you want to join a community of people. And I know we got some Silent Hill 3 fans, but come in, talk about the episode if you'd like, but we're also a lively group of folks and we'd like to have you. There's an invite link in the show notes for that as well. So with all that being said, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it's going to be full spoiler time for Silent Hill 3. All right, before we get to full spoiler time for Silent Hill 3, a quick announcement about a guest appearance I did and the customary thank yous. I was a guest once again on the Pixels and Polygons podcast, talking about a wow moment in video games, a moment in a game that truly blew me away. I won't tell you what it is. You got to go listen to that episode. It's on Pixels and Polygons, but it is a good one. It's a game that a lot of people love, myself included. I'll put a link down in the show notes for Pixels and Polygons. Please go check it out. It's a fun chat. And I would like to say thank you to the wonderful patrons, as always, who support the show. A big thank you goes out to Chris Nelson, Zulgeek, Chris Copleen, Eric Guess, Rick Firestone, Nick Ficori, Soccer, Cupcake, Kyle, Christian S., Matt aka Stormageddon, JD, Doug Leaf, Jason Emery, Brian Skirsha, Jenny E., Marcus O'Neill, Stefan, Drellish, Rob Smith, Rigamort, Silcanet, Levi, John E., Aliasi, Joseph Hooper, Yorkie Duval, Aaron, Squill, Alan K., and many more. These fine folks have generously donated some of their money to help me with everything that goes with running a weekly show like this, and it is greatly appreciated. If you want to join them, you can do that at patreon.com/realdavejackson for as little as $2 per month. And with that being said, let's get on. Full spoilers upcoming for Silent Hill 3. All right, we're back. It is full spoiler time for Silent Hill 3, and two quick notes before we get into it. Number one, this is not a linear walk through the story of Silent Hill 3, so if you're halfway through the game and you don't want to hear about what happens at the end, please go finish the game and come back. The second note is, because this deals heavily in the story of Silent Hill 1, we're going to fully spoil Silent Hill 1 throughout this discussion. Just got to happen in order to talk about this game the way we want to. So, with that being said, I wanted to start by talking about Silent Hill, the place, and the other world specifically, because for me personally, playing Silent Hill 2 first, I had an idea of, okay, this is what Silent Hill is and what it represents and things like that. And especially the other world, Silent Hill, the horror side of it. And I think that like Silent Hill 3 it may be like a little bit of a monkey's paw thing where it's like, I wish I knew how it worked. And then I feel like they tell you how it works in here. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. So first of all, how does it work? there's this weird guy that you start seeing as you go through the game. The name is Valtiel. I'm not sure how to say it.
Yeah.
It seems to me that every time, or not, maybe not every time, but often as you make the transition from normal to otherworld, you see Valtiel turning a crank wheel or doing something in the environment. So is and Masahiro Ito stated that Valtiel is an angel in this game, in the story of the game. So that is from the creator. So is he, for lack of a better term, turning on the other world as you go through?
I think it is not happening because he decides to do it. Like the things that you do that cause the transition from, foggy Silent Hill to the other world.
Yeah.
That isn't like his cue to turn on the lights and open the curtains or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But I think that is more kind of symbolic about Valtiel's role in this, which
Mhm.
is, some people have said, okay, Valtiel kind of almost sounds like a combination between like valet and just a general like el suffix like you would have in a like an angel's name, kind of
Mhm.
deal. Like his purpose in this is almost akin to like pyramid heads, whereas pyramid head is like a doppelganger of James there to punish him specifically because he is unaware of what he should be guilty for.
Yeah.
Valtiel exists to ensure that the god of the religion of the town is born.
So
And
exists to like facilitate Heather reaching the point where that can happen.
yes, so much so to the point where at certain points in the game, if you die in the other world specifically, you don't just get a game over screen of, Heather down on the ground. You'll get Valtiel like coming up and picking her up to drag her bodily to where the god can be delivered.
Huh.
Yeah. So like it's not just that he is, cranking the wheel, like you often see him look at him go.
Yeah. Just that
Like
one scene where you're climbing up the ladder and he's just spinning that wheel. I'm like, what is he
yeah.
doing?
Yeah. Yeah, yes, it is, I think, kind of playing into the mechanistic nature of of the reality,
Hmm.
that is there, but also showing that he is doing everything he can in order to usher specifically this god that is inside of Heather to be born,
Okay.
is what it is. And it is specifically that fetus's presence that allows otherworld type shit to happen when you are not in Silent Hill. When in the beginning of the game, that mall, that office complex and the apartments, not in
Right.
Silent Hill,
Hmm.
you're like either across the country or across the state.
Yeah.
Um,
Taking a train home to where you're supposed to take the train home. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like you see, I think Douglas has California plates on his car, and they talk about a Portland. It's Portland, Maine. Like
Right.
Silent Hill is supposed to be up there.
Yeah. The Stephen
Um,
King kind of influence up there. Yeah.
yeah. And so it is the fetus's presence within Heather, and specifically like the things that are being done to agitate it. Basically, when the god when the baby god is awake, that is when you are being kind of like brought over, and that is when Valtiel is kind of like drawing you in closer to the level of reality that the demons and metaphysical forces of Silent Hill are working on. This is
Okay.
also my understanding. There's like, this, I think this is broadly accepted, but there's all kinds of stuff. People have literal arguments with Masahiro Ito on Twitter, not
Right.
understanding
Yeah.
that he is the person who made up a bunch of this shit.
Right. Yeah, I think I remember a good, one of those, "Hey, what are your credentials, buddy?" And he's like, "I created this. That's my
Yeah.
credentials."
People
Yeah.
will talk about like, oh yeah, Silent Hill takes place in West Virginia. It's Centralia, you dummy. It's like,
Yeah.
no, that's the movie. I made it. They'll talk
Yeah.
about Pyramid Head's purpose, and it's like I invented Pyramid Head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking about this fetus. That's where this starts to relate to the events of Silent Hill 1. Like the
Right.
entire plot of that is kind of one of the leaders of this religion, Dalvia Gillespie, engineered circumstances to birth the god of their religion
Right.
by torturing her daughter, Alessa.
Right.
This involved explicit like sexual assault. They needed to impregnate this girl before they, burned her alive in order to keep her in this, state of horrific pain
Yep.
while it gestated, right?
Right.
The things you do at the end of Silent Hill, there are multiple endings, but the canonical one is, you destroy the incomplete manifestation of the god, and then Alessa slash Cheryl are reborn into a baby.
Yeah.
Cheryl being the girl that you are looking for in the town, who
Right.
is also a reincarnation of Alessa. Basically, it's reincarnated again, but she still has this, demon seed inside of her, and
Right.
that is why the cult is coming to, kind of grab her.
Right.
So as opposed to being this manifestation of like an internal guilt, like you have in Silent Hill 1 or 2, or in Silent Hill 1, it is Alessa in this incredibly torturous state, manifesting a twisted version of her greatest fears, being somebody who stopped developing as a little girl. Here, this is very specifically related to the plot of the god trying to be born and the forces of Silent Hill and trying to ensure that happens,
Right.
both demonically with Valtiel and stuff, but also with Claudia, with Leonard,
Right.
doing things to nurture this baby with hate, right?
Yes. So, two key things that we learned, just kind of facts to establish before we keep going. Um, Heather's pregnant with this fetus god, and the other thing is that Heather is Alessa, and she kind of recognizes that as she goes on. She starts to kind of feel like some of her memories are not her own, and then she kind of realizes and then accepts who she is as we go. So Heather is Alessa. She's not like it's not like I'm a totally separate person. She still kind of retains those memories and things like that. And then, as you go through the game, there starts to be parts where like you'll shift to the other world and Heather will double down with stomach pains. And it's because of this growing fetus. And as you go, that's why the environments start to turn more fleshy as you go, as opposed to like the rust, the grates and stuff like that from previous Silent Hill games. Now we have walls that look like they're made of flesh and, bloody tendrils spreading throughout certain rooms and certain, stuff like that.
Yeah. It becomes womb-like,
Yeah.
like you're being drawn into basically the baby god's environment almost,
Right.
as things go on. This is especially pronounced in the other world of Brookhaven. The hospital, like that's when you start getting literally like, oh, this is like, blood-filled membrane that is
Yeah.
like pulsing like smooth muscle
Yeah. Like to the
tissue,
point where you
right?
can't see the doors in some of
Right.
those hallways because it's like a smooth,
Mhm.
wall of flesh.
Ah, damn, the door healed over.
Yep. Yeah. Hate it when that happens. So to like loop it back real quick. So I felt like there was a more tangible explanation for like this thing is controlling and like activating the Silent Hill otherworld than your interpretation was. And hearing it explained that way makes more sense. And it's a little less of like that monkey's paw thing I talked about earlier, where it's like, I don't actually want to know the mechanism behind the Silent Hill otherworld. And it's totally cool with me. The explanation that you gave is more satisfying than what I came out of this thinking like, oh, he cranks the wheel and it turns on the other world,
Some horror, it's interesting to have rules,
Yeah.
right? Like a slasher having rules is real cool. We just talked about how fun 7 is. 7 is interesting because that killer has rules, and also he's a hypocrite who breaks them, right?
Yeah.
Here, I think that the more you define the rules and the more you go into like the history of the town and what might actually cause this, you stop getting the interesting things, which is the world and kind of the metaphysics of it need to react to what the story needs, and that story needs to be driven by the characters.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. That's the most interesting part about the story is that the world that you're going through reflects what the character is going through, or what, in the case of Silent Hill 1, what a character is going through.
Yeah.
And it's interesting in Silent Hill 3 because it I didn't get the impression that it's like these are the conscious thoughts that Heather is having. It
Mhm.
could be related to it. But I feel like this stuff starts before Heather like fully realizes what's going on. Does
Yeah.
that track with what you thought too?
Yeah, and you end up seeing like not every monster design is actually symbolic of a bunch of stuff. You can read a whole bunch of things into it, but like Masahiro Ito has said, like, yeah, like I think there were only like 5 of the enemies that like we designed to specifically evoke something, but
Hmm.
like a lot of them are like designed around like sexual assault,
Yeah.
like with the slurper enemies,
Yeah.
or just like general fears again about body autonomy or body kind of like integrity,
Yeah.
right? Just these just kind of like incomplete or modified or grotesque forms that are also like not quite Silent Hill 2 levels of like hypersexualized femininity, but
Hmm.
like more expressing like simultaneously like vulnerability of flesh, but also the great potential for violence inside of it.
Yeah. And that like that body autonomy that you talked about. I mean, one of the scariest things to think about as far as body autonomy and like body horror is Heather is pregnant against her will, and this is just developing inside of her as
Hmm.
she realizes what's going on. Like late in the game, when she knows what's going on, that's got to be the most terrifying thing to not only be like I don't want to speak too far out of turn as a guy here, but like to be pregnant, number one, against your will, but you don't know what the fuck that thing is even. It's not like a human baby in there.
Hmm.
Like there's one of the more recent Alien movies had like a pretty famous scene of an alien, someone who was pregnant with a baby alien, basically. And that's like
Hmm.
fucking terrifying stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of that revolves around that when you
Yeah.
start thinking about it in Silent Hill 3 here.
Yeah. I mean, like a bunch of this has to do like, like with direct influences on this.
Yeah.
Rosemary's Baby, the cultist being intensely invested in, this pregnancy coming to term,
Hmm.
getting things like the Omen, right? Like what happens when this, if this thing is allowed to be born. Like recently, chronologically this wouldn't be a an influence, but like the first Omen does really really cool stuff with this, with
Okay.
the horror of being pregnant with something and not knowing it,
Yeah.
and just you know the menace of what the possible result of carrying this to term will be. This is in addition to just the actual body horror that is pregnancy, the
Yeah.
things that
Just in
happen to the
general.
body.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's obviously, played up in here, but like those are legitimate fears and anxieties that, half of the population, walks around with and is susceptible to.
Yeah, it's
Right.
part of the reason my wife and I don't have kids is because she's pretty scared about what that would be like, and
Yeah.
it's a very real thing.
Hmm.
And it is a fear founded in all facts, basically. So
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense. So it's interesting how Heather deals with this. Then, like especially once she realizes what her importance is to this cult, kind of like you said, like you have this group of people that is like their single focus, the thing they want the most in life is for her to birth this thing. And when she realizes like what the situation is, I don't want to say that it's like unrealistic, but she really takes charge. Like there's no moping, there's no detachment. She really is like, I am in charge of my own destiny here. I'm gonna fucking kill Claudia. And then, when she does give birth to the god fetus thing, she's getting ready to stomp that fucking thing out
Yeah.
before, she's interrupted.
Hmm. Yeah, she's real take charge. That's also just like a Lessa
Mm,
kind of breaking into, like she doesn't like what has happened, so
right.
much so that like she literally manifests when you are on your way into the broken reality nexus. Alessa herself manifests to try and kill you to stop it from happening.
Right.
Right. She does ultimately end up taking charge because Claudia's plan works,
Yeah.
though.
True. Yeah.
is part of this. Claudia, being the daughter of one of the leaders of the cult, who also was Alessa's best friend growing up.
Yes. Close
You
enough
know,
to be sisters, they said.
yes. And one hand and one thing on one hand is trying to get her friend back, trying to, reawaken her. But, in trying to nourish this god with enough suffering so that it will know what not to do.
Yeah.
She killed it's pretty backward logic, but she is
Yeah.
absolutely traumatized because of what Leonard did to her. So,
Right.
she's not operating with a lot of rationality. She kills Harry
Yeah.
as revenge for taking for foiling the cult's plans 17 years ago, but also in order to basically make Heather angry enough that the god will develop faster, but also she flees to Silent Hill so Heather will come with her to the place where it needs to be born for all of this to happen.
Right.
So the back half of this game is a revenge story that only happens to work out well for everybody involved because of foresight that Harry had.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple threads there. We'll save the one about Harry for later, but
Yeah.
um Claudia, her reason for doing this, her logic, and so killing Harry, nurturing the baby with hate. Hey, that's horror. The story, I'm cool with that. Whatever. It
Hmm.
feeds on hate. It grows faster when there's hate present. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, the part where this is like one of the things that I think the story does the worst is try to make Claudia's motivations make sense, and also try to make her sympathetic. There's a certain point where you're like, Claudia saw all of the evils of the world, and so her response is to burn it all down and start fresh. And
Yeah.
the way she's doing that is by making a god nourished on hate, which
Hmm.
it's going to come out and be like, hey, you know what? I think the other way is the right way to go about this.
Hmm.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Heather points that out too. There's a quote from
Yeah.
her where she says, a god nurtured by hate cannot create a perfect paradise. So it's like, hey,
Yes.
the 17-year-old knows that you're an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because she wasn't brainwashed by a cult and a horribly abusive father,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's one of the things where it was like a little too little, too late to try to make Claudia sympathetic or understandable for me.
Oh, she's an absolute monster. I think the most
Yeah.
relatable thing that she that she says, right? The most relatable story beat is at a certain point she realizes that the paradise she is building, she will have no place in it.
Yeah.
Right. All kinds of religious stories that kind of relate to that, but specifically
Mhm.
because of the things that she had to do. But like in her mind, that is a sacrifice, that is noble and holy in its own way.
Yeah.
Part of why this falls down also is the subjective nature of what is happening when you see monsters and when you see the way that the paradise is manifested in the other world with this,
Mm.
right? This is the game that most explicitly dives into, like Silent Hill 2 did this an awful lot with like people's individual guilts, Eddie seeing everything being, cold and frozen, the
Yeah.
world being on fire for Laura. But uh I forget what I was going to say here. No, but this is the one that says like, hey, you cannot trust your eyes with this in a very real way. You have a character who hates Claudia's guts and thinks she's an idiot too,
Hmm.
but in fucking around with Heather does raise the question of, you know, either whether what you are killing are actual people or I'm talking about the, oh, they look like monsters to you thing that
Yeah.
Vincent
Yeah.
says,
Yeah.
or like, oh, they look like monsters to you. Well, for us, we see them as angels, right? Either, because we're just so conditioned that even this horrible flesh monstrosity, this is an angel to us, or literally it presents itself in a different way based on your context. Going back
Yeah.
to the Jacob's ladder thing, it talks about like, oh, if you're clinging to life, the beings pulling you away from yourself will look like demons. But if you give up, those same things are angels that are taking you, to paradise, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I laughed because I remembered that line, and my initial reaction to it was like, oh, is this Are they doing
Yeah.
the same thing here? But I'll probably beep that for people who haven't played that game. But yeah, but the other explanation makes sense for sure. And hey, like when we're dealing with ancient religion, demons and angels and stuff, you know,
Yeah.
the image of an angel that we may have grown up to be accustomed to, you know, that might not be what they look like if they're real. They might look really fucked up. They might, you know, it might be like an eldritch thing that destroys your brain if you actually saw one in real life. So,
Yeah. That's why calling anything a biblically accurate blank is funny.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because angels as depicted in some of the books are like wheels with eyes and stuff like that. Real
Yeah,
rad shit.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the like the culmination of this is Heather births the god fetus. She goes to stomp it out.
She doesn't birth it. She succeeds in partially aborting it. That's why it comes out incomplete. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I missed that. This was a very gross scene, so I may have just been like looking out of the corner of my eye because it happens, I think, one more time before, but her whole body gets these like red tendrils all over it. Super gross. And so the thing comes out.
She vomits it up.
She vomits it up. Right. So I was like, so Claudia eats it. I'm sure of that.
Yes.
But I didn't know if Heather vomited it also. So she does. And and Claudia's like, well, all right, if you're not going to do it, I'll fucking do it. And she eats it. And then she gets pulled down by Valtiel down into like the depths. And that's where you do the final boss fight. But that's how this like comes out. So like to the end, Heather is doing everything she can to like reclaim agency over this whole situation involved with her body and things like that.
Yeah.
The other plot thread was Harry and Heather, and you had mentioned how in the end, it is a thing that Harry had prepared that saves Heather. The reason she's able to throw that god fetus up and not give birth to it is she takes the Aglaophatus vial, which was in a little pendant that you have from the beginning of the game. And if you read the item description, it just says, Dad gave this to me when I was young. He told me to make sure I always have it. So this is a storyline that like I really like. I really like the storyline of learning about the history of Harry and how he raised Heather. Like you said earlier, always on the run. You can tell that Harry was basically always paranoid that they were going to find them because he knows what Heather is. He knows who might be looking for her, and he probably knows that they're pissed off at him too. So it kind of starts. I like the way that this starts where you don't actually see Harry alive in this game. You come home and he's dead, and Heather kind of like talks some shit about him. At the beginning, she says, or when she finds his body, she's like disappointed in him for dying. She says, "You said you'd always protect me. Guess you couldn't."
Yeah.
And
I mean, a real way that I've heard adults react to death.
Sure. Yeah. But it like, that's your introduction to Harry in this game. And especially if you're coming at this like I was, I knew about Silent Hill 1. I knew Harry was going to be a part of this game, but that's your introduction to him is he couldn't protect her in the end. And she doesn't feel like she thinks too highly of him in this moment, which is real.
Yeah. And, okay, that is also delivered with, all of this history about the way they came up. They were on the run. You have to think about all of the ways, that Heather didn't have a normal life because they always had to be ready to go.
Right. And how she probably resented Harry for some of that, for the way that her life turned out, because her dad is being fucking weird about a lot of stuff and she doesn't understand why.
Wants to protect her from it, but also maybe doesn't want to give her enough information that the things that he fears about her are going to come true.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So there's little environmental stuff too. Like, she has a taser in her bedroom. She doesn't have with her at the beginning of the game, so that's like little like, overprotective dad. Whatever, dad. I don't need this thing.
Yeah.
I'll be fine.
You're being
Teenager stuff.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Tale as old as time, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then there's some more stuff as you go along. There's a note from Harry that you find that kind of catches people up on the plot of Silent Hill 1, but also gives some really kind of like gruesome detail about his inner thoughts as he's bringing this god devil child home. There's a quote from him when he says, "Many times I had my hands around your little neck,"
Yeah.
which is brutal to. I mean, he knows this is not a normal kid,
Hmm.
but it is a kid, and
Yeah.
he had doubts about what is the right thing to do here. Is it to kill this thing because it might grow up to be the devil?
Hmm.
But it is a
It's
baby.
it's the Damien problem, right?
Yeah. Uh, this is just very cool you don't get this throughout, or I should say, you get this all through notes, memories, things like that. And it just kind of slowly pieces together this puzzle. Harry changed her name to make her harder to track, and how the puzzle of how Heather was raised comes together. And
Mhm.
then I play in a little bit toward her attitude and her reaction to things and the way she kind of takes charge, and how you kind of get the feeling like maybe she's had to make decisions on her own more than a normal teenager might have had to up until this
Mhm.
point. Maybe she's better equipped than the average 17-year-old.
Yeah. Like when the stakes are that high, what does rebellion look like?
Yeah.
Right? When it's not oh, my parents want me to be, home so they don't have to stay up. Like when it's like, oh no, just like my dad is super worried that I'm going to be kidnapped and, or I might be the devil. How does that affect the way he raises her, but also, the more profoundly she, kind of lashes out, right?
Yeah. You can
Yeah.
you can almost kind of you can almost like imagine Harry raising Heather at an arm's reach because he's always afraid of what she might become, right?
Mhm. And like, and a part of like the paranoia is also like borne out in Heather's character design, right?
Mm-hmm.
Heather is blonde, but if you look, you see that she has pretty long black roots in
Right.
her
Yeah.
hair. So like, okay, Harry wants to disguise her. If that was somebody who was really invested in having, blonde hair, would probably go in and get those roots retouched,
Mm-hmm.
maybe,
Yeah.
like that's my read on it. But
Yeah.
yeah, like just down to altering her appearance so she looks as little like Alessa or Cheryl as possible.
Yeah. So it's just a sequence of things where you get the information, and then if you think like, my dad is insisting that I dye my hair blonde.
Hmm.
Why? What the fuck? Like, why is he like this? Stuff like that. And you can imagine this kind of distance and this really complicated relationship between the two of them.
Yeah.
And she doesn't follow a lot of his advice apparently, but she does always keep that pendant on her, which ends up saving her in the end.
Yeah.
So we have that thing where she says, you couldn't protect me, but he actually did in the end.
Yeah. The Aglophidus, Harry would have had to have discovered it in order to get the ending that would lead to Silent Hill 3.
Yes.
It being this substance that the cults kind of kept around, derived from Aglophidus is the name of an herb that it's like, I believe, mentioned in the Bible. But like you find it in the motorcycle tank, and it is him throwing the vial of it onto the angel as
Yeah.
it's being born that causes it to go wrong. He has sourced a way to keep this around because, like, okay, well, it worked the one time. I'm going to make this into a pill that she keeps with her because worst case scenario, this will stop the worst case scenario.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Um,
the ending, like right before the boss fight, like all that it does is like you're just like in the room and you're like walking around as like shit starts to get worse, like like the
yeah.
pain, your pain gets more apparent. Like if you don't know what to do, you'll get a game over, and that's because the birth happens. The
Yeah.
god is born. You have to intuit and know from looking at shit in your inventory that and from looking inside of it, that is a thing that I need to use.
Metal Gear Solid 3 came out in this same year, I want to say.
It came out 1 year later,
1 year
2004.
later.
Yeah.
It's very similar time frame. This tripped me up in Silent Hill 3 and in Metal Gear Solid 3, where you have this item in your inventory the entire game. It's never useful. So I start to gloss over it in my item page and don't think to use it during this, pivotal scene. It was the revival pill in Metal Gear Solid 3. And then in this one, the pendant, because it that scene plays out and you're like, okay, I got to go shoot Claudia. But if you do, you get a game over. Yeah. And you're like, okay, what the fuck? So, I don't know what it is about this. Games of this era, or maybe these two specific games, loved doing this trick, and it misses me every time.
It's interface shit, like they're trying to play with, the inventory as artifice that can reveal information that might be, necessary about it. It's not just there to let you know how much health drink you have, you saw something similar to that in the way that how much you examined things in the inventory in Silent Hill 2 impacted what ending you got in that.
Yeah. It's, I like the one in this one. No, I don't like either of those. I was going to say something I don't agree with. I don't like either of those. Let me play around with the items in my inventory. You gave them to me. And then this one is, this thing has literally never been useful. I got to stop. I think what it is I got to stop just assuming that things will never be useful, because you try over and over again. You can't use it. There has to be a time. I need to make a sticky note and stick it on the bottom of my monitor here. Just be like, hey, dude, remember that thing.
Just because I think this is cool doesn't mean I think it is not dirty pool.
I love it for the story, for the way it ties into the story and kind of completes the story of Harry's fatherhood and raising Heather and ultimately protecting her at the time when she needed protecting the most. But from a play perspective and intuitiveness, it's not great. Before the ending, I wanted, lightning round some cool shit in the game, because there's some cool shit we haven't talked about yet. The first one, we have to talk about that room with the mirror in the hospital, because that scared the shit out of me. Like genuine panic, like pressing buttons, like trying different stuff, trying the door, running around, just being like, fuck. And like, I don't get like that pure panic in these games very often. It's like the beginning of Silent Hill 1, going through the alleys and stuff, that got that out of me. And then this is way scarier than anything in Silent Hill 2 by far. Love this, the mirror room. If you know, you know.
it is so iconic. And like, if I had to analyze like why it is so scary, I've got no idea how I could like even like enumerate it. But the fact that like, I think the thing that really kind of like wakes it up, is the fact that the door is locked behind you, so you can't escape. Like you can try and try, but also the fact that like it is only, so the blood is kind of seeping out in the mirror world. And then once it completely covers everything over there, then it starts seeping into the real world and starts like overtaking you. And it is only at the point when it's like about to kill you that you can escape, that the door is open, right?
Yeah. You see your reflection in the mirror, and you can see that overtake your reflection, which is, I think, the point where it goes from like, oh, this is weird to, oh, fuck.
And then your reflection stops moving. Like there's like a sound cue, and then just like, okay, suddenly like she is frozen. Something is like desperately wrong here in a way that like, again, reality is breaking down. Somebody, I wish I could credit who, but it was a YouTuber, somebody who did like out of bounds stuff, but like this is like a really recent discovery. The blood in that, so you can't really see it in the with the in-game camera, but like there is a creature that's like affixed to the to like the ceiling of like the corner of that room, and the blood that is like overtaking everything is actually being piped out of him.
Okay.
I have no idea what the fuck it's supposed to mean. It's just really cool horror.
It is very cool. And for someone who played Silent Hill 1, the image of a body or face suddenly just becoming overcome with blood really reminded me of the Lisa scene from Silent Hill 1, which was another scene where I was like genuinely like pretty disturbed by.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that was a good moment. What's something you want to shout out? Moment, storyline, anything?
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
There is. I had another
Per
one I forgot. Oh, the haunted house.
Oh, yeah, no, the haunted house. I
Yeah.
made a little note there at the end because I needed to make sure of that.
Yeah.
The absolute cheesiness of the voiceover,
Yep.
the fact that you're not really in any danger, just like, oh, you like the dining room scene, and there's the really fun jump scare with the body, hanging,
Yeah.
just like, oh yes, you thought you thought the story was going to go one way, but boom, here's a body. But then the way that like you walk into what you think is the exit, and then the red light starts coming in, and suddenly something that was entirely just lulling you into thinking, oh, it's just funsies,
Mm-hmm.
turns into one of the most like nerve-wracking pursuit sequences in video games as you
Yeah.
try to outrun this red light that is going to kill you.
Right. So it's interesting. Like, I felt like most of Silent Hill 3 was a pursuit because I'm always running from everything, but
Yeah.
this is a set piece pursuit thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why the red light kills you if you get hit by it. It's haunted house stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sequence, it's a very rare moment of like not camp, but outright like this is pretty funny. This is like
Oh, it's
legitimately
farcical.
funny.
It's meant to be.
Yeah, and it's a rare moment where something is like supposed to be funny in the regular game of Silent Hill, not like the dog ending or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was good, and the jump scare got me real bad.
Much better than the mannequin head falling off or whatever when you get the katana. I didn't
Yeah.
care for that one. The scream out of nowhere.
Just a quick thing. Do you have a favorite melee weapon to use, or do you roll around with guns? Do you use the katana, the iron pipe, the joke flail weapon?
Oh, that big maul that you get.
Yeah.
There's a cool trick you can do to get the body armor. You have to use the maul on a weak section of wall in the office building.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Yeah. It just, you can't destroy anything else, but if you take it there, you can. I probably
Right.
like the katana, probably just because it was the best like speed of attack with reach and damage, not for
Yeah.
any like like otaku reasons in carrying around a katana. It was just a really good weapon.
It is good. Yeah. And
Yeah.
the image of Heather using a katana is pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I use that too for the most part. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the haunted house, just a real goofy thing. The voiceover's great in the haunted house, like the guy that's like walking you through the exhibits and stuff. Just kind of like, he's just like, man, it's my fucking job. I'm ready to go home. Like that kind of voice.
This family got more than they bargained for.
Yeah. The jokes and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. What else sticks out?
I it is such a nothing, but it is just an amazing monster design. The glutton, that thing that blocks you from getting out of the other world of the office building.
Right. Yeah.
It's a vaguely humanoid body that is like in this, cage kind of looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
It can't hurt you. It is literally just like a piece of the environment.
Yeah.
But like specifically its mouth, kind of almost looking like it's a mouth on the end of this twisting, almost like worm-like thing that is constantly burrowing into its head.
Ugh.
That's the thing that you just like, and it makes a horrifying sound. I don't know why that has always stuck with me. It's the one that you have to beat by putting together the storybook and getting to the end, and seeing how the story ended, how the monster and that was dispelled. The little Latin phrase "tu fui ego eris."
Yeah.
That just like makes it disappear off screen. You just go back and it's gone.
Right. Yeah, I didn't get too close to it because I was afraid it would, do something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember seeing it like almost scarier to see it like kind of in shadow in the distance there and just be like, I'm not going near that thing. I know it's blocking the door, but I'm not going near that thing. Yeah, that was good. Let's try to think. Oh, speaking of comedy, and Heather taking charge, Heather's last kind of confrontation with Claudia before the boss fight, before she, throws up the baby, she's full of one-liners, which is really good. Silent Hill 1 like had this goofy, like kind of like movie like or like they had like the blooper reel at the end of the game and stuff. So you can tell like they're thinking about this and stuff. And so
Mhm.
Heather has a couple of like action hero one-liner jokes at the end where she's like, I guess God didn't make it after she thinks it's dead and stuff like that. I thought that was fun.
Yeah. Oh man, that just if she's there, she might as well have enjoy herself, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Given the circumstances, we'll allow her a couple of one-liners for
Yeah, yeah.
sure.
As a treat. Yeah. Um. Uh, if I can I say my last one that
Yeah, of
that I want
course.
to highlight here?
Yeah.
The whole thing in the hospital with Stanley,
With Stanley. Oh yeah, the stalker. Yeah.
the stalker voice, that
Talk
calls.
about real world paranoias for young
Mhm.
women. Yeah.
Yeah, just like that boundary being crossed of always being watched,
Hmm.
of the just horrible and perverse fascination that he has,
Yeah.
like the way that it spools out, just like how bizarre Heather's situation is, where it's like, oh, happy birthday, off key singing of happy birthday to somebody over the phone is amazing, but also
Yes.
like, but I don't know how old you are. Are you 17? Are you 7? Are you 34? Like
Hmm.
all the different like lifetimes that she's lived, like I don't know how to calculate celebrating this,
Right.
the like little artifacts that he has of her,
Hmm.
that are involved in solving the puzzles, and then the hard riddle mode poem that you have to decode to get the number pad code to put in,
Yeah. Right.
where the number cat where it's like, oh, what what's his name? Carmelo said your face looks like a number pad instead of like a clock. Yeah. No, but it's like, describing step by step, like, oh, first I pluck out your eye, and that's supposed to be, your right eye. So that would be the number 3 on the number pad. It is
Yeah.
ridiculous. It makes so little sense from like, I'm trying to solve this puzzle kind of perspective, but it is super creepy that he has made this poem about disfiguring you into
Yes.
something you have to understand in order to proceed.
Right. And he's always one step ahead of you as you're going. Like,
Mhm.
whether he's laid out a trail of things for you to find or whether he is literally just one step ahead of you, you don't know until you get through that entire sequence.
He's also
So,
one step behind you, the
mm.
entire way too, because you will like read part of his diary or whatever, and if you leave the room and come back, it's gone.
Oh, I did not notice that. That's creepy as shit too. Yeah.
Mhm. And also, he is dead and not. Do you know
Yeah.
about what happens in the morgue? You never find this guy, but if
Right.
you walk up to body number 7, which is, the one that it's, said that he was, like, you will hear a little whisper.
Yes. I do
Yeah.
remember the whisper. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Love Stanley. Also in the hospital while I'm here, because I remember
Yeah.
this. When you're looking for Leonard, the Claudia's dad, you can't find him. He's nowhere to be found. But like when he calls you and says, "Hey, I want you to come find me," and says like, "Oh, it's the last room on the hall on floor number 3 or whatever."
Right.
And you go, and where the hallway had ended, it just continues.
Mm-hmm.
Incredibly good, just like spatial horror. I'm a House of Leaves nut, so
Yeah.
like,
Same.
yeah. So like just the idea of that, like, and also this amazing echo of what happens in the hospital in Silent Hill 1, where to get to the other world in that, like at a certain point you get into the elevator, it's always been 3 floors, and then you see there's a button for 4, and
Yeah.
when you press that, that does the transition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm such a sucker for shit like that.
Love it. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah. I can't remember if I talked about it in the Silent Hill 1 episode, but the number 4 having that significance
Of
in
death,
East
yeah.
Asia. Yeah. And why the elevators don't have a number 4, they have the letter F in the elevators.
Mhm.
I used to live over there, so I have, it was one of the first things I was like, why is it like this?
Mhm.
So it makes sense they would use it in a horror game to
Yep.
great effect. Yeah. So I think that we covered everything that I remember. We're definitely through the things that I wrote down, and that is most of the limits of what I can remember for while recording. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. Anything else before we go?
Not that I can think of, in terms of like things that have like really stuck with me. Obviously there's something we're missing. There's like a cool room. There's a monster that we didn't camp out on,
Yeah.
enough. But like those are the things that like really stick out as highlight moments for me. Like we've barely talked about Vincent. I love Vincent as a character, not just
Hmm.
for not just for the, oh, they look like monsters to you kind of thing, but the way that
Right.
he detests Claudia for ruining the grift, and
Yeah.
also helps Heather, but also make sure that the entire way that he has nothing but contempt for everything going on.
Yeah.
Just an incredibly fun character to me.
Definitely fun.
Almost edging into camp, but like still really dig it.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Definitely a fun character. I did forget to talk about the ending. So that is the thing.
Yeah.
And just how you feel about like the last kind of thing. So the ending, there's three parts to it. First, Heather cries for the loss of her dad.
Hmm.
She's allowed to grieve now.
Hmm.
So she does. And then she leaves this, the church and stuff like that. The fog is gone. The second thing, she goes outside and she pranks Douglas, pretending that she's going to kill him. And then she's like, just kidding at the end of that.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, the most important thing, I think, is that she says that her name is not Heather and it's not Alessa either. Call me Cheryl,
Yeah.
which was Harry's daughter that went missing at the beginning of Silent Hill 1. So
Hmm.
she is like continuing the legacy, but more so, I think, just honoring her dad by doing
Yeah,
that.
okay, so my name isn't, the person who came before me who had all this, the horrible shit happen to her, who effectively was this, was made into this monster.
Yeah.
My name isn't the name that I had to have when I went into hiding, when,
Right.
my nature was kind of being denied, for necessary reasons or whatever. My name is actually what my dad, raised me as the first time. This name that he and his deceased ex-wife gave me out of love. That's how he always saw me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to claim that, as a trans person.
Hmm.
The power and act of of choosing a name,
Yeah.
I think is especially resonant
Hmm.
for that, in a way that I feel a lot more now, than than I did before. But like, I think that I agree with you that I think is the most important thing, that in the life that she is going to live moving forward, she wants to live the best dreams for her that Harry had before times were rough, right?
Yeah. Right. That's a good point. The power of a name as a kind of like way to kind of define your life moving forward in a sort of way, a way
Yeah.
to define your identity. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in fiction about the power of names and how much that can have. So her kind of picking, because she could have, stuck with her identity and just said, well, I'm going to, I'm going to
Hmm.
push through this and stuff like that. But this is the way that she chooses to move forward, the identity. And then it's a nice bow for me because I kind of resonated pretty strongly with this, father daughter storyline, and a
Yeah.
way for her to honor her dad in that way. And kind of, like you said, live as the daughter that he lost originally, like you said, before things went to shit. So
Yeah.
it was a really nice ending.
It's sweet.
Real goofy at the beginning, but a sweet ending to it.
Yeah.
Her pranking Douglas was like,
Mm.
like we said, Silent Hill. We're having fun now.
Yeah, we're just having fun. Like, hey, all the stuff is over. The God's dead. We're good.
Yeah.
And then there's the alternate ending that you get by killing a bunch of stuff and then
Right.
not forgiving Claudia, where she does murder Douglas. She
Right.
so fun little bit there.
Yeah. And then there's a UFO ending as well, which
Yes.
I forgot to watch, but I assume it's goofy as shit.
Yeah, it's good.
Good. All right. Well, Kaye, thank you for coming back on the show and going through Silent Hill 3 with me. This has been a great time. I couldn't think of a better guest for it, so I appreciate you a lot.
This was a lot of fun. Thanks again for having me on.
Of course. I'll give a final call at the end for everyone to check out the shows on the Duckfeed Network. Check out Kaye's streams on Twitch if you like horror games a lot. And yeah, everything's in the show notes. I think I said that. End of the show is tough. Thank you all for being here with us throughout the whole thing. You're my heroes. Tune in next week for the next game to come out of the backlog.
He spoke of tortured souls, so outrageous the toll. You can lose all you have. He refused to give in to the town that takes all. Survive. You must have the will. This movie doesn't end the way we want all the time. Then he shouts at the moon, she's gone, and fear has overcome. He was walking the mile. He was walking alone.
Hey everyone, my name's Darren Hupke. I'm a writer, publisher, and podcaster. My podcast is called Pixels and Polygons. Each week I sit down with a guest and ask one simple video game question. It's a random topic each week and it leads to a fun conversation. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform every Friday, and you can read more about it at pixelsandpolygons.net.
Hey, you there! This is Nomad speaking. If you love retro video games and you're itching for some nostalgia, check out the Retro Wildlands podcast. In each episode, I'll use game music and sound to pull you into the gaming experience while I share my own thoughts and maybe a few memories. It's a great way to relive one of your favorite games or learn about a new one. Check out the Retro Wildlands podcast at superpodnetwork.com or wherever you listen to your podcast.